My oldest son, Riley Hawk, is a very accomplished street skater. He has a great style. He really has created his own path in skating and hasn't followed my footsteps in that sense. He's very accomplished in street skills, and I feel like he would be better suited to teach you these more technical street tricks. So I'm going to hand off the masterclass to my son, Riley, and I think you'll enjoy it.
First time I did a kickflip, I was at the YMCA skate park, and that was the moment when I realized that I wanted to keep skating and learning new tricks. I think that's the first trick people learn that kind of motivate them to want to keep doing the sport. Today I'm going to teach you intermediate and advanced street skating. The kickflip is one of the hardest tricks to learn because it's usually the first trick. It takes a long time to figure it out, but once you learn it, it's the gateway to almost every skateboard trick that involves flicking your board. It's like an ollie, but instead of just leveling out your board, use your front foot to flip the board. When you start a kickflip, your front foot is usually hanging about halfway off the board, just under your nose, and your back foot is in the middle of the tail. And you pop, you want to slide your foot forward, not directly to the side, more of a diagonal motion toward your heel side. Otherwise, your board will go downward instead of traveling with you. Got to keep your weight over the board, otherwise when you are in motion, your board will either go in front of you or behind you, and to keep it centered with yourself, you want to make sure that your weight is directly centered. A great kickflip, to me personally, is when you flick the board, and rather than it flipping in an upward motion, it levels out, and then your back foot is the first foot that catches the board in the air, and then your front foot, and then you land level. The heel flip is pretty much the opposite of the kick flip. When you start the heel flip, your back foot is pretty much in the same position as the kick flip, which would be on the tail in the center, and you have your heel on the board with your toes hanging off. You use your front foot to flick out forward towards your toe side. Don't hang your foot off too much. Make sure it's on it enough to where no matter what, when you flick out, your heel will catch some of the board on the way out. It's easy to miss making contact with your front foot, and then your board won't flip. Backside ollie 180 is going to be a regular ollie, except you're spinning 180 degrees with your back facing the direction you're headed. You're going to have your feet pretty much set up just like an ollie. Place your back foot pretty much in the center of your board. Before you pop your tail, you're going to want to start turning your shoulders in a backside direction. Then, pop your tail and slide your front foot forward, similar to a regular ollie. The timing is pretty important. You want to make sure as you're popping, you start turning your shoulders. If you do it too late, you're going to end up landing sideways on the ground and you're not going to fully rotate your board. Frontside pop shove it is just like pop shove it, except your board is spinning behind your back instead of in front of. In this trick, your board turns frontside 180 degrees, but your body stays in its original position. Place your back foot on the tip of the tail, as you would for an ollie. You have your heel on the board with your toes hanging off. To start the trick, pop your tail while also pushing it towards your toe side to start its frontside rotation. Use your front foot to lightly guide the board and to help it continue to turn a full frontside 180. Once the board has nearly completed its full rotation, catch the board with both feet and come down. To make sure your board doesn't flip in the air, you want to use your front foot to stop it from flipping when it's about halfway through the rotation. .360 flip builds on the pop shove it because you're using the same motion you would use with your back foot, but with a little bit more pressure, as well as using your front foot to flick the board. The .360 flip is going to be using the same footing placement as the kick flip, except your back foot is going to be in the pocket of your board more. With your back foot, pop your tail down and sideways, forcefully enough to launch your board into the air, making it fully rotate 360 degrees in a backside direction. Just after you pop your board, use your front foot to flick forward and to the heel side to start the flipping motion, just like you would in a kickflip. You have to jump pretty high, so there's enough time for your board to make a full rotation and flip. As the board is nearing its full rotation and flip, catch it with your feet and bring it down. A good tip is to try to catch the board with your front foot first. When you're first learning a 360 flip, try flicking your board without trying to land on it. Once you're consistently flipping it correctly, then start committing to the landing. Frontside 50-50 is when you ollie onto a ledge or a handrail and you use both your trucks grinding in a forward direction. You want to be pretty much parallel to the obstacle that you're skating. Pop your ollie and slightly rotate frontside, making sure to land both of your trucks on the edge of the bench in a grind position. You're going to land on your heel side. You don't want to land on your toes on the object because then you're going to flip off of it. And you want to make sure you get high enough over the object that you're grinding. You land both trucks on the ledge or a rail. You grind in forward motion and then you come off. Timing is critical for grinds and board slides. You might want to try practicing them on a low object like a curb before bringing it to benches, rails, and ledges. Frontside Smith grind is going to be pretty much the same approach as the 50-50. You're going to ollie and you want to make sure you get over the obstacle, but you're going to land with only your back truck on the obstacle, dipping the nose of your board to the side of the ledge. You're going to be leaning a little bit more on your back foot rather than both your feet centered on the 50-50. You want to make sure that when you're grinding, you have enough momentum with your back foot to push your truck through the ledge or the rail. But you don't want to lean too far back, otherwise you'll loop out and end up on your back. When you're doing a Smith grind on a ledge, you're going to be leaning a little bit more onto your toes because you have the top of the ledge to support your board. When you're doing it on a rail, you're going to be pretty much solely leaning on your heel because you have no support on the side. Common mistake with a Smith grind is you don't ollie high enough to get onto the obstacle that you're trying to skate, and the side of your truck will hit either the ledge or the rail, and that's definitely a terrible slam to take. You end up on your side on the obstacle you're skating. For this trick, roll up parallel to the bench with it on your backside. Rotate your shoulders as you ollie, turning backside 90 degrees and landing with your tail on the edge of the bench. You'll be sliding forward as you near the end of the bench. Turn your board straight as you come off. It's better to ollie higher than you would think than lower because no matter what, you'll get on top rather than your board clipping the side and you don't get in. The backside tail slide is tricky because you have to almost stop your shoulder rotation once you get into the slide so that you don't keep fully rotating. You have to make sure as soon as you get in, your head is looking in the direction you're headed. For the kickflip down the stairs, you want to start on something small, maybe like a curb, and then work your way up to a 2-stair, 3-stair. You don't want to go straight to a big set because you want to make sure you're comfortable with the trick. For any stair set, you want to make sure that you ollie the stair set first to figure out your speed before you try a kickflip down it. You want to make sure you feel like you're going fast enough to clear the set of stairs before you try a kickflip. You want to catch the board with your feet to stop the board's rotation. You want to flip the board pretty quickly, similar to how you flick it on the flat ground. This gives you plenty of time to run out of the trick if you miss the board, instead of landing on the board sideways or upside down. Once you catch your board, you want to spot the landing and ride away. For the board slide on the handrail, you want to approach the rail at a slight angle rather than straight on. You want to have enough speed so that if you mess up, you don't land on the rail in between your legs. I've done it plenty times and it's extremely painful. Once you're near the rail, start an ollie high enough to make sure your wheels get over the rail, turn your body and land on your board sideways. And land with the middle of your board on the rail. You want to have your weight centered over your board, but when you're learning, it's a lot safer to lean forward than backwards so your board doesn't shoot out. As you leave the rail, you want to spot your landing and turn your board as well as your shoulders at the same time so you can ride away straight. For the feeble grind, you want to approach the rail like a board slide, but with a little bit more of an angle. As you approach the rail, you want the rail to be on your backside. Ollie up and make sure to clear your front trucks over the rail while landing on your back truck with your weight on your heel. You want to make sure that your back truck and the toe side of your board land on the rail at the same time. You want to keep your weight centered over the rail while you're grinding. As you near the end of the rail, you want to slightly shift your weight back. At the same time, you're going to lift your board and straighten it out, land, and ride away. Learning these tricks will open up a world of possibilities to other tricks you can do on benches, rails, and ledges.